I refuse to sell the family Bible because it's worth more than money. I never thought a family heirloom could almost destroy my family, but here I am, still shaking from what happened. You see, I refused to sell our family Bible, and that decision turned my world upside down. I thought it was just a book, but for my children, my siblings, and even some cousins, it became a battlefield. I want to tell you exactly how it all went down, so you understand why a simple no could feel like betrayal. I'm Mary, and I'm 68 years old. I live in a small town in Pennsylvania, in the same house my parents built after the war. It's not much, just a cozy place with a white picket fence, but it's home. My husband passed away 5 years ago, and ever since, I've been thinking about what I'll leave behind for my kids, James and Linda. The thing is, some things in life aren't about money, and my family Bible was one of those things. This Bible wasn't just old leather and yellowed pages. It was my grandfather's, passed down from my grandmother, who got it from her mother. Names, dates, handwritten prayers. It carried generations of family history. I remember sitting with my children when they were little, turning those fragile pages and telling them stories of our ancestors. To me, it wasn't about its price at an auction. It was our soul, our roots. But to my cousin, Mark, well, he thought differently. It started when I got a call from Mark out of the blue. "Mary," he said in that smug voice of his, "you should really consider selling that Bible. It's worth a fortune. You could retire in comfort, maybe even buy that summer home you've always wanted." I could hear him smiling through the phone. I didn't say anything at first, just looked at the Bible on the shelf. The leather cover glowed under the lamp. The name of my great-grandmother embossed in gold. It seemed to look right back at me, almost pleading. "Mark," I said slowly, "this isn't for sale. Money doesn't mean more than family. Come on, Mary, don't be stubborn. You're old enough to enjoy life. Think about your kids. They could have the college fund, a nice car, hell, even a trip to Europe." I could feel my chest tighten. I had expected pressure from him, yes, but the audacity. He always had a way of twisting things to make it sound like I was being selfish. "I'm not selling it," I replied firmly. "This Bible is worth more than money. It's history. It's family." That was the spark. I didn't realize it yet, but the fuse was lit. Mark hung up, and within days, the whisper started. James called first. "Mom, are you sure about this?" Mark said it could really help us financially. We could use the money. I felt my stomach drop. "James, I love you, but some things aren't meant to be bought or sold. That Bible, it belongs to our family, not to the highest bidder." Linda, on the other hand, was furious. "Mom, you're being ridiculous. It's just an old book. We could finally live comfortably without worrying about bills." I tried to explain, try to make them see through my eyes, but it felt like speaking a foreign language. "I'm not being ridiculous," I said. "If we sell this, we lose more than money. We lose our story, our legacy." I didn't know then how deep this would go. Over the next week, family dinners became battles. Mark showed up unannounced, leaning against the kitchen counter with that smug grin. "So, Mary, thought it over yet?" he asked. "I've already said no," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. He chuckled, a low, teasing sound. "You're really going to deprive your children of a fortune just for sentimental reasons? You could be the hero of the family." I could feel the blood rush to my face. "Mark, this is not about heroism. It's about respect. That Bible has seen more of our family's life than you ever will. It's sacred to us." Mark rolled his eyes. "Sacred? Schmacered. You're old-fashioned, Mary. Times change. Money matters now." The argument escalated quickly, and soon, James started siding with Mark. Linda was more vocal, practically screaming at me across the kitchen table. "Mom, you don't get it. This isn't about history. It's about survival. You're letting pride get in the way of our future." I felt my heart break. I had imagined my children cherishing that Bible, not turning against me. And that's when it hit me. Sometimes family fights aren't about the object, they're about control, about who gets to decide what matters. I retreated to my room, clutching the Bible, tears streaming down my face. I whispered to myself, "I will not let them sell our soul for money." But I also knew this wouldn't end here. Mark and my children were convinced I was wrong. They started plotting, talking behind my back, trying to find loopholes to force my hand. I was prepared to fight, but I didn't yet know how ugly it would get. The next morning, I found a note slipped under my door. It was from Mark. 3 words scrawled in sharp handwriting. "Think again, Mary." I looked at the Bible, and for the first time, I realized how much power it held. Not just for me, but for everyone who wanted it for the wrong reasons. That moment, sitting on my bed with the Bible in my lap, I understood that the next weeks would test me in ways I never imagined. Little did I know, this was just the beginning. The Bible would become the centerpiece of family arguments that tore at old wounds, revealed secrets, and forced everyone to confront the truth about greed, loyalty, and respect. And I had to ask myself, was I ready to lose some of my family to keep the Bible safe? Because sometimes standing up for what's right comes at the cost of what you love most. The days after that note were unbearable. Every morning, I woke up feeling like I was walking through a minefield. Even simple things, making breakfast, checking the mail, felt like walking into a battlefield. I knew my cousin Mark was planning something. He was relentless, and I could feel in the way he called, texted, and even stopped by unannounced. One Saturday morning, I heard a knock at the door. My heart sank before I even opened it. There stood Mark, smirking as if he owned the house. "Mary," he said, leaning casually against the doorframe. "We need to talk. You're making everyone miserable, not just yourself." I took a deep breath. "Mark, I've told you. The Bible isn't for sale. I don't care what everyone thinks. It stays in our family." He raised an eyebrow. "Everyone? You mean your kids? They're on my side, Mary. They think you're being difficult." At that moment, I felt a cold wave run through me. My own children? Could they really turn against me over a book? "James and Linda don't understand the value of this Bible," I said quietly, trying not to tremble. "It's not about money. It's about respect, about keeping our family history alive." Mark laughed softly, a sound that grated on my nerves. "Respect? You're calling yourself respectful while making everyone miserable? The world doesn't work like that anymore. You need to wake up." Before I could respond, James walked in behind him. I froze, stunned. "Mom," he began, but his voice was different, sharper. "We've been talking. Mark's right. This is crazy. We could finally live without worry. Isn't that what you wanted?" I stared at him. The betrayal hit me like a punch. "James, I thought you'd understand. I thought you remembered sitting with me, reading the prayers, learning about your ancestors. This isn't just a book. It's our soul." James shook his head. "Mom, you're being stubborn. We're grown adults. We have needs. And honestly, this obsession is tearing us apart." Linda appeared in the doorway, arms crossed. "Mom, seriously, stop being so stubborn. Mark and James are right. It's an antique. A fortune. You could finally rest easy, not worry about bills. We're just asking for common sense." I felt like the room was closing in on me. Tears stung my eyes. "You don't get it. If we sell this Bible, we lose more than money. We lose our history, our story, our family's soul. I won't let that happen." Mark smirked. "Suit yourself. But don't say I didn't warn you. You're making enemies out of your own children." Days passed, and the tension only grew. I tried to keep the peace, offering to sit down and explain once more why the Bible mattered. But every attempt ended in shouting, accusations, and more notes slipped under my door. I found a message one morning written in a childish scrawl. "You're ruining everything. Give it up." I couldn't sleep. I cried into the night, clutching the Bible like a lifeline. Every time I thought about giving in, I thought about my grandmother, my grandfather, the generations who had poured love and prayer into those pages. No money could replace that. Then came the twist I didn't see coming. One evening, a neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, stopped by. She looked at me with concern. "Mary, I heard some things from Mark. Are you all right?" I shook my head. "No, Mrs. Thompson. He's trying to force me to sell the Bible. My children, they're siding with him. I don't know what to do." Mrs. Thompson sighed. "You know, sometimes family forgets what's truly important. But don't let them pressure you. That Bible is yours. You have the right to protect it." Her words gave me a flicker of strength, but the real shock came the next morning. I walked into the living room and saw the Bible missing from the shelf. My heart stopped. "James! Linda!" I shouted, panic rising. They were sitting at the table, the Bible between them. "Mom!" James began, avoiding my eyes. We were just moving it. We thought maybe if it was in a safer spot. Safer spot. I cried. You stole it from me. Linda rolled her eyes. We didn't steal it. We just thought you weren't seeing the bigger picture. I couldn't believe it. My children, the ones I had raised to cherish family, were betraying me over money. I grabbed the Bible, holding it to my chest like a shield. I will not let you sell this. Not now, not ever. That's when Mark walked in. He had a grin I'll never forget. Ah, so you've discovered the Bible's new home. Good. That means you're finally realizing that resisting is futile. I felt a surge of anger, a mix of fear and defiance. You think you can bully me, threaten me, and manipulate my own children, and I'll just give in? Think again. Then the most unexpected thing happened. James, looking guilty, spoke up. Mom, I don't know why I was siding with Mark. I guess I got greedy. But seeing you this upset, seeing how much it means to you, I can't do it. We shouldn't be fighting over it. Linda's face softened too. I'm sorry, Mom. I didn't understand. I thought it was just a book, but I see now. It's our family, our story. We were wrong. Mark's smirk faltered. He wasn't used to being ignored, let alone corrected by the very people he tried to manipulate. Well, maybe I miscalculated, he muttered, trying to sound casual, but clearly frustrated. In that moment, I felt a wave of relief. My children were back on my side, and the Bible was safe. But the experience left scars. I realized how fragile family loyalty could be when money and greed entered the picture. I also realized how important it was to stand firm, even when everyone else seemed against you. That week, I locked the Bible in a special cabinet, a little stronger, a little wiser, and a lot more determined. Mark didn't give up easily, but he couldn't break us. Not now. Not ever. And as I looked at my children, I knew we had come through the storm together. The lesson was clear. Family treasures aren't just things. They're the ties that bind us, the stories that connect past to present, and the memories that shape the future. And no fortune could ever replace that. For the next few weeks, I tried to restore some normalcy. Breakfasts were quieter, dinners less tense, and I even managed a few peaceful moments in my garden. But peace, I soon realized, is always fragile when family greed and resentment linger in the air. It all escalated on a Friday evening. I had just finished dusting the living room when the doorbell rang. I opened it to find Mark standing there, holding a large envelope. Mary, he said, his tone unusually serious. We need to have a real conversation. I stepped aside, letting him in cautiously. Mark, I told you. The Bible stays. End of discussion. He smiled thinly, placing the envelope on the coffee table. Not exactly. I brought something to show you. Something that might make you reconsider your stubbornness. I eyed him warily, my hands gripping the Bible on the shelf. I don't need to reconsider. You've already tried, and it failed. Mark opened the envelope and pulled out several papers. These are appraisals, Mary. Real appraisals from certified experts. This Bible? It's worth over $100,000. Imagine what your children could do with that money. I shook my head, fighting back tears. Mark, no amount of money can replace this. This is family history, not a commodity. He leaned in closer, his eyes sharp. History doesn't pay bills, Mary. History doesn't put food on the table. Don't be sentimental while your children miss opportunities. I felt a surge of anger, but more importantly, fear. Fear not for myself, but for my family. Could I really protect the Bible if Mark, and even my own children, kept pushing? Then came the twist I never expected. James and Linda entered the room quietly. Mom, James said softly, we've been talking. And maybe Mark has a point. Maybe we could benefit. I froze. My own children, right in front of me, doubting me again. James, no. You can't just think about money. This Bible is our legacy. Linda stepped closer, hesitating. Mom, what if it's worth more than just money? Maybe we're missing something. Maybe selling it isn't betrayal. My chest tightened. Their words, meant to soothe, cut deeper than any anger could. I realized that Mark's manipulations were stronger than I'd thought. He hadn't just tried to buy the Bible. He'd planted seeds of doubt. And now my own children were caught in them. I decided it was time for a different approach. I sat them down in the living room, Bible in hand. I want you to listen carefully. I said, my voice trembling but firm. This Bible is not just leather and paper. It's prayers, tears, hope, and faith from generations before you. Your grandparents, your great-grandparents, they left this for us to cherish, not to sell. If we give it up, we lose a part of ourselves. And no amount of money can replace that. James and Linda looked down, silent, but I could see the conflict in their eyes. They wanted comfort, they wanted financial security, but they also wanted to honor the family. Mark, sensing the shift, smirked and said, "Mary, it's touching. Really, but sentiment doesn't change reality. The Bible is a fortune, and the world doesn't wait for nostalgia." I felt a fire ignite inside me. Mark, the world may not wait, but my family does. And I will not let greed poison us. Not now, not ever. The confrontation didn't end there. Over the next days, Mark tried more subtle tactics. He invited friends to appraise the Bible in my home, hoping to pressure me further. He left anonymous notes under my door with exaggerated valuations. And worst of all, he started spreading rumors in the family, telling everyone I was being irrational, selfish, and stubborn beyond reason. One evening, as I sat in the kitchen, drinking tea and staring at the Bible, I heard a crash upstairs. I ran to find James and Linda arguing with Mark. He had tried to take the Bible from their hands. It was a physical struggle. "Mom, stop him!" Linda shouted, tears in her eyes. I ran in, and for the first time in years, I raised my voice. "Get away from my family, Mark. This ends now." He looked stunned by my anger. "Mary, you can't stop me. This is bigger than you." I grabbed the Bible and held it high. "No, this is our family, not yours. I will fight to the last breath to protect it." James and Linda, seeing my determination, finally stood together. They pushed Mark back. "You're not taking it," James shouted. Mark's face turned red, and in a fit of anger, he stormed out, slamming the door so hard the walls shook. Silence fell. My children and I stared at each other, hearts pounding. The Bible rested safely in my arms, but we all knew the battle wasn't over. That night, I sat with the Bible on my lap, my children beside me. "I'm sorry if I scared you," I whispered. But sometimes, standing up for what's right means showing courage, even when it's hard. Linda nodded, her eyes glistening. "Mom, you were right. We forgot what really matters. Thank you for protecting us." James reached over and took my hand. "I see now. Money isn't worth losing our family." We held each other close, but in the back of my mind, I knew Mark wasn't done. He was smart, persistent, and ruthless. He would try again, and maybe even drag more family members into his schemes. But for now, the Bible was safe, and we had a renewed bond. I realized something important. Protecting family isn't always about being kind or gentle. Sometimes it's about being firm, even when it hurts. Sometimes it's about showing the next generation that values, history, and loyalty are worth more than any fortune. And though the storm was far from over, I felt a flicker of hope. We had survived the first wave, and together, we would face whatever came next. The Bible was no longer just an object. It had become a symbol of our strength, our love, and our refusal to let greed destroy what truly matters. The calm that had briefly settled over our home was shattered one rainy Thursday evening. I was in the kitchen, preparing dinner, when the phone rang. It was Mark. "Mary," he said, his voice smooth, almost charming. "I think it's time we had a final discussion. Don't you want peace in the family?" I tightened my grip on the phone. "Mark, we talked enough. The Bible stays. You've done enough damage." "Oh, Mary," he said, almost laughing. "You think this is damage? You haven't seen anything yet. I'm just getting started." I felt a chill crawl up my spine. That tone, it was the same tone he used before he tried to manipulate James and Linda. "What are you planning?" I demanded. "I'll let you find out soon enough," he replied, then hung up. I tried to brush it off, telling myself that he couldn't harm us. But deep down, I knew the battle was far from over. And I was right. That night, I awoke to the sound of muffled voices downstairs. My heart raced. I crept to the top of the stairs and peeked. There, in the dim light of the living room, were Mark and my cousin Rebecca, Mark's newest ally. My blood ran cold. "Mary won't give it up," Rebecca said, her voice sharp. "She's impossible." Mark laughed. Impossible, yes. But desperate? That's another story. I realized instantly that they were planning to take the Bible while we slept. Panic surged through me. I ran downstairs, flipping the lights on. "Stop!" I shouted. They jumped, clearly caught off guard. "Mary!" Mark exclaimed. "You're awake. You're not touching that Bible," I said, standing protectively in front of the shelf. Rebecca scoffed. "Mary, let's be reasonable. This is just a book. You're making everyone miserable. Hand it over, and we can all move on." I shook my head, tears forming in my eyes. "It's not just a book. It's our family, our history, our soul. I will not let you steal it from us." At that moment, James and Linda appeared from the hallway. "Mom's right," Linda shouted. "You're not taking it." End of story. Mark's eyes narrowed. "So, even your children are against me now? Interesting." I could see the tension in the room, thick enough to choke on. Mark stepped forward, trying to intimidate us. "You really think you can stop me? I've outsmarted smarter people than you." James took a step forward, shaking with anger. "We're not afraid of you, Mark. We're a family, and you're just a greedy intruder." Mark paused, clearly surprised by their defiance. "Fine," he said finally. "If that's how it is, I'll take another approach. You'll see. You won't like it, Mary." I didn't know what he meant, but I had no time to dwell. I hugged the Bible tightly and backed toward the stairs. "Leave. Now, before I call the police." Mark didn't move. Instead, he pulled out his phone and made a call. "Yes," he said. "She's awake and still refusing. Send them over." My stomach dropped. "Who?" I whispered. Rebecca smirked. "Family friends. They'll handle this." I realized the enormity of the situation. They weren't just trying to manipulate or guilt me. They were planning a full-scale invasion to take the Bible by force. The sound of car doors slamming outside made my heart race. I had only seconds to think. I grabbed James and Linda. "Go upstairs. Hide the Bible somewhere safe," I shouted. They ran, carrying the Bible, and I followed, making sure they were secure. I could hear the intruders breaking through the front door. My home, my sanctuary, was under attack. Then something unexpected happened. The intruders, Mark's so-called allies, stopped at the top of the stairs. One of them whispered, "Wait, this is Mary's house." "Yes," Mark said sharply. "She won't cooperate." I stepped out from behind the railing, holding my head high. "You're not welcome here," I said firmly. "Leave before this becomes a disaster." For a moment, there was silence. Then one of the intruders spoke, hesitating. I don't want trouble. I didn't know it was a family matter." Mark's face turned red with fury. "They're supposed to follow instructions." I saw my chance. "If you care about doing the right thing, leave now. This Bible is protected. If you take it, you're no better than a thief." Slowly, one by one, they backed down. I could see the hesitation in their eyes. They didn't want to hurt a family, even if Mark was forcing them. Eventually, they left, and the front door slammed, leaving Mark and Rebecca fuming. "You may have won this round," Mark said through gritted teeth, "but I'll be back." I didn't respond. I felt a mix of relief and exhaustion. My children emerged from their hiding spot, Bible in hand, their faces pale but determined. We hugged tightly, knowing we had survived something dangerous. That night, as the rain poured outside, I reflected on what had happened. Mark had tested us, pushed us to the edge, and tried to destroy the family bond for money. But we had stood together, stronger than ever. James whispered, "Mom, you were amazing. I didn't realize how brave you are." Linda nodded. "I'm proud to be on your side. We almost lost it, but we didn't. Because of you." I held the Bible to my chest. It's not bravery, really. It's love. Protecting what matters, no matter what, is the only thing that counts. And in that moment, I knew something important. True strength isn't measured in money, power, or clever schemes. True strength is standing firm when everything and everyone is trying to break you. True strength is protecting family and values, even when the world seems against you. Mark and Rebecca would try again, I was sure. But for now, the Bible was safe, and our family had emerged victorious. Not because of force, but because of courage, loyalty, and unwavering love. That night, I placed the Bible back on its shelf, lit a candle nearby, and felt the warmth of history and family around me. No storm, No intruder, no threat could ever erase what we had. And I knew that, in the end, justice and love would always win. The days after the storm were quiet but tense. We all knew Mark wasn't done, and I kept a careful watch, not trusting any sudden phone call or unexpected knock at the door. But something strange happened. I noticed people in the neighborhood began whispering, giving Mark wary glances. Word had spread about his schemes, and not in a way he would have liked. One morning, as I was watering the flowers on the porch, the mail arrived. Among the usual bills and advertisements was a letter addressed to Mark. It was from a lawyer, informing him that his recent business ventures had been investigated for fraud and misrepresentation. The timing couldn't have been more poetic. Justice had a funny way of catching up. I didn't gloat. That's not who I am. But I did feel a deep sense of relief. Mark's manipulations were crumbling, and our family could finally breathe. I called James and Linda to the porch, and we watched the sunrise together. "Mom," James said softly, "I don't think we realized how close we came to losing everything. Not just the Bible, but each other." Linda nodded, brushing tears from her cheeks. I was so tempted by what Mark promised. I thought maybe he was right. But I see now that we almost sacrificed our family for money. I took a deep breath, holding the Bible close. Money comes and goes, children. But family? Family is eternal. And this Bible, it's more than pages and ink. It's every prayer, every hope, every story of our ancestors that can't be measured in dollars. James and Linda sat quietly, absorbing the weight of the words. I could see the lessons sinking in, the true value of history, love, and loyalty. The next confrontation with Mark came unexpectedly. He appeared at the gate one afternoon, looking disheveled and desperate. His confidence was gone, the arrogance replaced by panic. "Mary," he said, voice shaking, "I want to talk." I didn't move from the porch. "I don't have anything to say to you, Mark. Your time here is over. Leave." He tried to insist, but the neighbors had gathered, some openly staring, others shaking their heads in disapproval. Mark realized quickly that his reputation had collapsed. His influence was gone, and with no allies left, he slunk away, muttering under his breath. I returned inside, locking the door, and felt an unexpected calm. The Bible rested on its shelf, untouched, unharmed. For the first time in weeks, I could breathe without tension knotting my chest. But the real victory wasn't in Mark's defeat. It was in the transformation of my family. James approached me one evening, sitting beside me by the fireplace. "Mom, I understand now. Family isn't just about sharing the good times. It's about standing together when things get hard, even when we're tempted to take the easy way out." Linda joined us, her hands folded over the Bible. "We almost let greed blind us. I'm sorry, Mom. Thank you for showing us the right way, even when we didn't listen." I hugged them both tightly. "I forgive you. But remember this always. There are things worth protecting that money can't buy. History, honor, love, faith, they are priceless." The days turned into weeks, and slowly, our home regained its peace. We held family dinners, shared stories about our ancestors, and laughed over memories that had been nearly lost. The Bible, now secure, became a symbol of resilience and unity, reminding us of the power of standing firm in the face of adversity. Mark faded from our lives, but the echoes of his greed lingered in the cautionary tales we told our children and neighbors. Every time someone mentioned his name, it was paired with a lesson about the dangers of envy and manipulation. Karma had caught up with him, and our family was stronger for surviving the storm. One afternoon, James suggested a small ceremony. "Mom, let's place the Bible in a special spot, somewhere everyone can see and remember. Not just for us, but for future generations." I agreed, placing it on a pedestal by the window, sunlight streaming over its leather cover. It gleamed with history, faith, and perseverance. "Let this be a reminder," I said, "that what truly matters can never be stolen, as long as we protect it with love and courage." And so, our family learned a profound lesson. Money can tempt, greed can divide, but loyalty and integrity can conquer all. We had faced deception, threats, and betrayal, and emerged stronger, united, and wiser. The Bible was safe, but more importantly, our family bond had been reforged, unbreakable and enduring. I sometimes think of Mark and his schemes. He may have thought he could manipulate us, steal our legacy, and fracture our family. But life has a way of balancing scales. He lost more than he ever gained, and we gained something far more valuable than any fortune. The knowledge that standing up for what's right, protecting what's sacred, and valuing family over wealth is the ultimate victory. In the end, the Bible wasn't just a relic. It was proof. Proof that courage, faith, and love outlast greed, deception, and betrayal. And that no matter how fierce the storm, justice and family endure. I held the Bible in my hands one last time before dinner, looking at the worn pages, the notes in the margins, the history etched into every crease. I refused to sell this Bible. I whispered softly, tears welling in my eyes, because it's worth more than money. It's worth everything we are, everything we've been, and everything we hope to be. And in that moment, surrounded by my children, I felt a peace so deep it could not be shaken. The battle was over. The lesson had been learned. And the family, my family, stood stronger, wiser, and more united than ever. Because some treasures are not meant to be sold. Some legacies are meant to be cherished, protected, and passed down with love. And this, I realized, is the true measure of wealth.